We weren't always a large company. In the early 70s, Interface was a startup. And the point of this panel, Ramon, is how does resource scarcity drive us to think differently? Well, Ray Anderson in the 70s was driven to think differently. So now you're all held up, even your carpets here, you're held up as the epitome of circular economy, sustainable design as a business. What next over the next 20 years? Where do you go next? What are the next steps? That's what we think here.
So we're the company who invented this idea of cutting the carpet into squares so that they could be easily installed. And in 1994, when the company was 20 years old, and it was already $1 billion company, Ray Anderson said, okay, let's have mission zero environmental footprint. And we started this journey. We're nowhere in the 20th year of that. We have reduced our carbon by 90%. Water from January this year to 95%, and we have seen that these achievements have been possible with this naivety of going for something which was radically impossible, zero. And sometimes how we set up targets, we say, what is feasible? 20%? Let's go for 15. And that way of setting targets, that way of how our politicians set up targets, is constrained by what is technically feasible. So we have seen, and when you said that, when you ask this question, what is technically feasible, is what is technically feasible with the technologies of yesterday? What is technically feasible with your engineers know today? And the naivety of Mission Zero was that we pushed our engineers to go for technologies that they didn't know that they existed. Applying ultrasonic cutting to our carpet industry, the ultrasonic cutting, which is something which was for our aeronautic industry, to our industry, carpet tiles, things like that. So we are now moving from that achievements, which at the end of the day are relatively small because they are company-wide, towards full life cycle achievements. We reduced the embodied impact of our carpet by 27%. But we think that we can go much further. We think that there is, by looking into how alternative materials and alternative raw materials, scavenging out alternative materials or waste from other industries that maybe they are not clever enough today to recover their own waste. There are opportunities out there. We're taking fishing nets, abandoned in the Philippines, and putting them into, this is nylon fishing nets, putting back into those carpets that you see today, these blue ones, which is also nylon-based carpets. We're looking further into, waste from the car industry and the end-of-life directive for the car industry. It's also creating a lot of outlets for waste, which we can access now, because the EU has said that we have to recycle vehicles. And we're also having our eyes into these things. In the future, we will move towards much more services and try to sell less product and much more services. We still, if you look at the price of some of the raw materials that we use, have been, have increased dramatically. Some of them 45%, 50% over the last, 5 years. So looking at alternative raw materials, scavenging out, waste from other industries, that's the key thing for us. Because the price of virgin materials it will just increase. And we had the last century, which was where labor costs increased and price of materials stayed the same. And since 2001, we have seen the opposite. So we're betting for post-consumer recycled materials. I think there has to be a shift. If we want to really achieve a circular economy, and everybody's talking about the circular economy, and I don't see the key argument of making the circular economy, which is we need to shift the entire tax system from income taxes and labor taxes to taxes on bad stuff, either environmental stuff or environmental impact. The circular economy and the local economy is an economy based on services. It's not about an economy based on collecting our own waste. It's not an economy just based on growing bananas in England. That doesn't work. The local economy is an economy based on services like hairdressers, more hairdressers. That's the local economy. That's the service economy. It's about going, offering services like going to the gym more. It's offering nutrition services, knowledge services. This is the local economy. And that local economy will never be able to exist if selling a new product or extracting raw materials, putting them in a product and shipping them everywhere is cheaper than repairing those materials. I'm in a hotel near Farringdon, and I saw it's like a cleaning service. That they clean like a dry cleaning, and they also repair the things. This is expensive because that person needs to pay income taxes. It's cheaper to buy new clothes than to repairing it. So we need to fix that system first.